Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm just gonna be doing maths Olympiads, teaching you maths on this channel, and I've got a banger of a first video for you. People say save the best for last. I've saved the best for the first. So let's just get straight into this absolutely amazing question. How do I? There we go. Couple spoilers ahead actually. I just spoiled the video, but all right, here we go. The title, I can move this around. I feel like a proper content creator. The title of the video, as you can see, is gonna be reduction. And I'm gonna explain what this means, but I feel like it's the most useful way of thinking about any Maths Olympiad question. And I've got a really, really insightful and beautiful problem to demonstrate this with. It says C6 is from 2021. This, in case you don't know, you probably do, but this is from the 2021 IMO shortlist. So every year before the IMO, they have a shortlist from which they choose the problems. And this was on it. It was on the harder end for the combinatoric section. And I feel like it does justify that difficulty, but it is really nice. Hopefully, I can explain it clearly to you guys and you take away something useful from this video. So, yeah, let's get straight into this ace. Let's get straight into the statement. I'm gonna move this down. A hunter and an invisible rabbit. I am the hunter. I've got a rabbit makeshift over here, and they're playing a game on an infinite square grid. First, the hunter fixes a coloring of the cells. So basically, they have a almost table, and the hunter colors in every single cell in some sort of pattern. The rabbit then chooses a cell that it will start in. Every minute, the hunter knows the color of the rabbit's current cell, and every minute the rabbit moves to a cell that's next to its current one. The hunter wins the game after some time if either the rabbit's stuck, so that would be. I can draw on this too, that's pretty sick. That would be so, say the rabbit's been to all of these places. We know that it can't go to a square it's been to before. So if it's stuck inside this region that it's already been to, it's cooked. Game is gone. So that's when the hunter can win. Another way the hunter can win is by finding out where the rabbit started. And we're asked to decide whether there exists a winning strategy for me, the hunter. Quite a lot to take in. And how do I clear that? Give me a second, guys. Right, yeah. Quite a lot to take in. There's not really any idea where to start. That's why this way of thinking about problems, reduction, that's why it's so useful because two things. One, you have somewhere to start. You get to simplify the problem to an easier version. And two, it's often the right thing to do when you have a complex statement. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to find ways to reduce this problem into a much simpler variant. I'm going to let you pause the video and think about ways to do this. And if you maybe spend 5-10 minutes thinking about that and then replay the video, we'll get back into it. But alright, if you're back or you just went straight through because you have a Subway Surfers attention span, this is what we're gonna do. Remember how the statement said we're playing on an infinite. Oh my days. We are playing on an infinite. Come on. square grid. Okay, this is not working. We're playing on an infinite square grid. So this is a two-dimensional problem. And what we're going to do is shrink it down to its one-dimensional variant. How lovely is that? And now, as it happens, if we impose all of the same conditions, as in the rabbit can't travel back in on itself, etc., etc., we actually have a mind your decisions level question. I'm telling you guys, if you're watching this video, you can probably do this, so definitely pause this and try and solve this problem for the one-dimensional case and come back. Hey guys, Presh Tolwalker here, and I'm gonna walk you through this mind your decisions question only the top 1% of students in Japan can solve. So, right. Well, what we want to do is make sure that we don't have a repeating pattern, if you've thought about this. Because say we had a repeating pattern of colors, right? So I'm going to do the most basic one, which is just coloring in every other cell. Then we have no idea where the rabbit is because, well, we have a repeating pattern. So that's not good. And we want to construct a pattern that doesn't repeat at all. And if you thought about this, you probably would have realized that. And I'm sure many of you have come up with simple constructions. The most common one you'd come up with is the following, where you just kind of go 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2. You get the idea. So there's the gaps between the twos are not the same. And the reason why this works is because when the rabbit is traveling, say in this direction, you can find out exactly where the gap is by seeing how many ones are there. And to do it in the other direction, we can have a sort of symmetrical thing just with threes. So here that would be 3 and then a 1, 1, 3. Good one. You get the idea. Great. Can erase the ink. And now we can also start thinking about a harder version of this reduced problem. We're told here that the rabbit can't move to a cell that it hasn't visited before. But what if it can, right? What if the rabbit can move to a cell it has visited before? So, trying out the same coloring, we find that the rabbit can just play me, by going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And that's no good. So we want to have a way to keep track of direction, like where the rabbit is going, because then we can determine if it is actually, so say it's traveling back and forth across here. Then we can determine if it's actually traveling through a series of long ones, or if it's just taking the piss and traveling back and forth along these 3 ones right here. How might we keep track of the direction the rabbit's going in? Pause the video again, maybe 2 to 5 minutes thinking about this, and come back. Okay, now that you've thought about how to keep track of direction, I can get into the solution, which hopefully some of you found. But anyways, the idea is we actually want to do a simple repeating coloring. And the one I'm going to present to you is something we call a 3 coloring, which you're probably familiar with. But in case you aren't, here it goes. So I'm going to color a cell in 0, the one next to it in 1, and the one next to it in 2. And I'm going to repeat this coloring throughout the whole thing. So you get 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. 0, 1, 2, forever. We have this repeating unit. And why does this work? Because let's say you start from here. Traveling one direction gives you the nice 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2 in that order. But traveling the other direction gives you 0, 2, 1, 0, 2, 1, and so on. You get a different color shift depending on the direction you travel in. So, okay, we found some very useful things that are much easier to find through the one-dimensional version. Or actually, rather, we found two useful things. And what we've learned is these two. The hunter wins, because I never lose. And the strategy, the problem is we want to break the colors up to essentially have different roles. So like here we had one color for the position, like the non-repeating position, and a way to keep track of direction. So this is the kind of roadmap we want to follow for the actual solution. And that is the power of this beautiful technique right here, reduction. We took the problem, made it super simple, and found out what we have to do with the harder version. And now we're ready to finally attack it. So, since the one-dimensional and the two-dimensional are very similar, the only thing different being like the number of columns, it makes sense to apply the same sort of strat. So, what if we do a one-dimensional coloring here and just repeat that across these rows, right? So I'm going to actually fill some of it in if it's letting me clear the board. Come on. Come on. PowerPoint is taking the piss. Okay. There we go. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2. And I'm going to fill the same directly above it. Some of you watching might be able to see why I'm doing this. Because let's say it's moving towards in a horizontal manner. We can then find out exactly where its x coordinate is on this grid. And how might we do that? Well, obviously we need to figure out direction, because only then we can tell the difference between a vertical move and a horizontal move. So remember what we did here with applying the recoloring for horizontal. We're going to do two different recolorings, one for the vertical and one for the horizontal. And this, for the exact same reason I explained here, works so we can find out every single move where the rabbit is headed off to. And now we're getting really, really close to catching it. So, okay, by doing this, we can determine exactly which moves are horizontal. And so we can just take the one-dimensional version and pretend the rabbit is moving horizontally across here. If the rabbit moves for an infinite distance across this, then we can find out its x-coordinate. Why is that? Because for the reason we explained in the one-dimensional case, we can figure out where it is because of the gap between the twos, how long that gap is. We can figure out where it is and retrace its moves because we can keep track of direction. Similarly, with the y-coordinate, we can almost rotate this coloring and apply the same principle. Because if we rotate it, the y then becomes the x. So, if the rabbit has infinite movement in the x direction, infinite movement in the y direction, we can find out its x and y at a certain point, and we can retrace its steps to find out the original x and y. But we're not done yet. There's a problem because we assumed some things. We assumed that the movement is indeed infinite. But of course, well, not of course, it's a bit hard to see. This is not always true. The rabbit could do a cheeky little zigzag, something like this, as if it's playing Snake. And clearly, it's infinite in the y, but not the x. Thankfully, this is about as bad as it gets. We can show that the rabbit's movement is infinite in at least one direction. And how we do this is by contradiction. So, contradiction where we assume one thing and prove that the assumption is just stupid. Okay, let's say it's stuck in this bounded region right here. Going back to the statement, it says that the rabbit can't move to a cell that it has visited before, because it has to move to an adjacent cell that it has not visited before. And when the rabbit can't move, the hunter wins. I went to the end. But the point is, when we have a finite region, the rabbit can't move, because eventually, after some amount of time, it's visited every single cell in that finite region. And that means it can't move, it's stuck, I win, I never lose. But back to the main finishing part of the problem, we can say that it is unbounded in at least one direction. But then if the movement is bounded in the x or y, one of them, our old method doesn't work. The reason being, if, say, the rabbit does this snake thing, and we have a sequence of ones here, we are never gonna get to... That's brilliant. We're never gonna get to a 2. So we're never gonna know how long that gap is. We can't find out the x coordinate. Okay. And now we're at the most left brain thinking part of the problem. This is where all of those mobile games come in, that Airplane Tycoon you played. That's where we're gonna use it. I'll let you think about what we need to do here for maybe 10 minutes, because this is the hardest step, the nicest step, and why it's such a brilliant problem. Here's how. So our current working assumption is that we can say, right, let's turn on the pen. X is bounded. Y is not. That's our current working assumption. It doesn't matter what way around we take it, because we can just rotate the grid and get the other version. So the X is bounded and the Y is not. Right. It's useful to think of a quantity that, as a result of this, is also not bounded. So if y is not bounded and x is, the difference, y minus x, is not. And this is a really nice thing to keep track of, because when we have y minus x equals some number c, this just determines a diagonal line, because you can rearrange it to y equals x plus c, and that's something you're more familiar with. So we get a diagonal line. Brilliant. For the final part, we're gonna keep track of what diagonal line it's on. And the play here is, again, reduce it to almost a one-dimensional line of these different diagonal lines. So like we did here, we're gonna do that 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1 on 1, 1, 2. But just with these lines. And remember, we can keep track of direction, as we have done. So to find out if it's going from, say, this line to the line beneath it, it either moves down or right, which we're keeping track of. And if it goes up, it either moves up or left. So now we can keep track of 2 of these quantities, because remember, either y and x are both infinite in terms of where the rabbit moves, which means that we can find x and y, or one of them is bounded, so we can find, say, y and y minus x, and therefore, taking the difference of those two, we can find x. So then we have the x and y coordinates, we have all of the directions the rabbit has moved, so we can trace back its movement and find out where it started from. I win, and I've caught this rabbit. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed this explanation and thought this problem was as nice as I thought it was. So yeah, thank you for paying attention, sticking till the end without the Subway Surfers. Feel free to comment down below if there's a question you want to see in the next video, and thank you guys. I'll see you next time.